Okay, everyone, thank you for coming. Welcome. This session will be recorded, but your video and audio won't be visible. If you do have any questions at all throughout the session, please post them in the Q&A function and we'll come to them at the end. You'll be viewing a pre-recorded interview with colleagues from Broadacres Housing Association, who recently delivered their first carbon literacy training using the Social Housing Toolkit. So I'll be streaming that video now.
My name's Helen and Paul. I am the Sustainability Manager at Broadacres Housing Association.
Hello, I'm Paul Foxton. I'm the Learning Development Trainer for Broadacres Housing Association. I've been with been carbon literate for about a year or so.
So I've been carbon literate for about a year as well. Paul and I did the carbon literacy training at the same time. Just a little bit of background to Broadacres. We're a rural housing association based in North Yorkshire. Our main office is in Northallerton, which is a market town in North Yorkshire. We've got 6,500 homes all across North Yorkshire, from very rural to kind of market town locations, to a few properties in some of the larger towns such as Scarborough and Selby and such like. Yeah, Broadacres, we've had a sustainability strategy at Broadacres for just over a year. It was signed off by board in October 2020. And as part of that strategy, we felt, well, to deliver that strategy, we felt it was really, really important for our colleagues to have a better understanding of what climate change is all about and the challenges that's sort of throwing to us globally, but also as an industry as well, really. So we have, we've just started on the journey really of becoming a carbon literate organisation by carrying out our first carbon literacy training course for our colleagues. We've had some sort of kind of environmental awareness training for our colleagues for quite a lot of years, and that's kind of evolved and it's kind of covered different things over the years, different aspects. But I think now that we have a sustainability strategy, we felt it was really important that we deliver something a little bit, a bit bigger really, and sort of more encompassing and covering the key, well, the main challenges of climate change. Carbon literacy is a sort of an established brand and established within the social housing sector. So that's kind of what attracted us really.
Yeah, we found it really good. It was very, very straightforward to use. There was a lot of content in there, and we were working through it to start off with, and we're thinking, gosh, this is a lot to go through, but it really does hold your hand through it. So we found it really useful, very straightforward to use, lots of useful information, and then there was certain parts in it where we could look at it and say, right, how does this apply to our business as our organisation? So we could put our own stamp on it as well. And working together, it was quite a smooth process.
I think we found it quite easy to use, didn't we? I think when we first looked at it, we were like, maybe a bit like, oh, there's lots here, and it felt a little bit overwhelming. But I think there's lots here, and that's good because there's lots of content to kind of support you, so you get your notes. And like Paul said, I think we found it was really good because we could, you know, for the first course, we've kind of more or less just used it as it is, but we now know that, you know, now that we've delivered it once, we're kind of getting our own ideas of ways that we can personalize it to Broadacres, and we can add a little bit extra here and a little bit extra there, and make it kind of even more relevant to our colleagues.
I really like towards the end as well, where it really does have a lot of activities on helping people create the pledges and look at the pledges, and it got a lot of discussion out of people, and I thought that was a fantastic thing, because at first, before we even saw the social toolkit, we thought we're going to have to try and work out how to get these pledges over in a really good way, and the end of that toolkit was a fabulous tool to be able to do that. So we're really impressed with that, and it really helped with the pledges. It made it a lot more smoother and plain sailing than we thought it was going to be. So that was awesome. We really liked that bit.
We were a little bit anxious when we were first running through it that we were going to run out of time, because obviously we didn't have time to run through it all and do like a full-on practice session before we delivered it for the first time. So we didn't kind of know how it was exactly going to work out timings wise, but there was enough time to allow people to have like some discussion time around topics, and our little cohort was very keen to have lots of discussion, weren't they, Paul? And it's really nice to enable that to happen. Well, we have a sustainability group at Broadacres, which is made up of interested colleagues. So we've got about 30 people who sit on that group. So we rolled it out to them initially, and we opened it up to them. We chose to deliver the training face-to-face rather than remotely. We just felt it would be a bit more powerful that way. So we were limited by the number of people that we could fit in the meeting room with COVID restrictions. So our first training was quite a small cohort, but that was quite nice. Of those 6, 2 were directors, and so that was good as well, because we could, there's some sort of additional sort of discussions from the directors, and of course, the pledges that they could bring in were, they just had maybe a little bit more power behind them as well, or influence.
It's quite exciting to see that when we did that and offered it out to the whole company, there was a lot of people who were really interested, saying, I'd really like to do that. What's that about? I'm interested about it. And it's gone right the way through the company, and that's representative of the session that we had. Our directors there, we had and everybody else from different parts of the organisation. So it really went to all corners.
I think what it does on that whole section of the training course, which is quite a long section, it really gets people thinking and focusing in on what they can do as individuals and as teams as well. So it makes everything, which especially at the beginning of the training course, for some people, I guess it can feel quite tenuous and far away and distant. And as the course goes on, it becomes more and more kind of to do with, us as individuals and what, impact we can, as individuals we can have. So I think that's why it's important, because it makes everything really relevant.
And I think a lot of people have already changed the light bulbs and things, and we need to look at what we can do further to stop this impending thing from happening. And them pledges really help to focus the mind and say, right, well, this is my little part of the bigger picture, and we can see where we are from there. So I think they're really important.
We had 2 directors in our cohort, so we really tried to emphasize that kind of, not just the spheres of influence, but also, if you've got a lot of influence in your job role, then your pledge needs to be more significant. So the significance of your pledge. So we really did try and stress that, didn't we, Paul? And I think it worked, because we got some great pledges coming out. Our Director of Resources, David, he's responsible for our fleet. So we've had a lot of discussions already around electrifying the fleet, which is a bit of a challenge for us because we're a rural organisation. So the main challenge that one of the main challenges we think we'll face in that respect is around charging points in rural areas. So I think until this point, we've kind of said, well, we're just going to have to wait really until the charging points are there. But David kind of turned that on its head and said, well, no, we can spearhead that. So his pledge was to look at installing charging points in not only our head office, which we're in progress with anyway, but in some of our schemes, which we've got dotted around. So the idea is that we can almost map those out and strategically install charging points, so that we've almost got a grid of charging points around our area that we can use for our own fleet, but also so that customers and the wider public can use them as well.
Just about the pledges as well, it was interesting when we were actually creating them and people were writing them, because you were getting, like you say, that one of the directors saying something as grandiose as that with the fitting electrical charging points in the schemes and things, and then you get other people who were saying, oh, mine's a little bit rubbish, to be fair. Kind of thing in the scheme of things, but one of them was indeed suggesting about sharing the vans, and like Helen said, it might seem a small change, a small thing, but it does have the potential to ripple and become a big thing. And I think it's about when we're doing that training and when we're talking about pledges, to highlight that to people in the sense of saying, you know, that what you think might be a little drop in the ocean might turn into be something much, much bigger. And every pledge, regardless of whether you think it's small or not, if it's a valid one, then it's going to be a good one, regardless of whether you're a director or just work on the tools or anything like that. It's still an important part regardless.
Quite big section in the training around communicating about carbon literacy, which I think that was quite a good section. We enjoyed delivering that, didn't we, Paul? And we had some good discussions from colleagues around that as well. And I think it kind of got people thinking, yeah, it's not just about what I do, it's around who I talk to around what I do and how I talk about that. You know, these things are really important. Who you talk to, how you talk to people, you know, what you choose to do in your free time, what you choose to do at work, whether you choose to go that extra mile. All those things are just equally as important as the practical things that we do as well. Yeah, we had some good feedback because we delivered our session in 2 halves. So we did a 4-hour session one day and then another 4-hour session the next day. And after the first session, yeah, I think the first half of the course is the toughest half. It's hard hitting, it's scientific. You know, there's the potential to kind of lose people, I suppose, a little bit and lose their will because it can be quite negative and depressing. And I think, yeah, I think as course leaders, it's challenging one to deliver, and you come out of that first half feeling a bit but I had a couple of conversations with our learners after that first half and they gave some really good feedback, so it kind of spurred us on, and the second half of the training is much more optimistic and it's all about, you know, what can we do, what can we do as individuals as well, so you feel a lot more positive after delivering that. But no, we did have some good feedback.
We shared some of we took some photos on of the day when people were training and what have you, and put it on our workplace. And there was a lot of kind of chatter, wasn't there, in response to that as well. A lot of people liking the photo, a lot of people putting underneath, oh, that looks really good, can we go on the next one, sort of thing as well. So it was really interesting to see that there is an appetite for it and that people are really interested in what is this, what does it mean to be carbon literate, and we're just jumping on that to get as many people as we can onto this course and get them carbon literate too, with the pledges, of course.
So thank you for joining us to watch this this interview with Helen and Paul from Broadacres. If you do have any questions relating to the toolkit or carbon literacy for social housing more generally, please don't hesitate to contact us at housing@carbonliteracy.com. Thank you very much.